All right, everyone. The time is 6:03 p.m. and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. We'll begin with a roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Iono Dimhoff, Rahman, Rolls, Reinhardt, Jones, Helzer, O'Connor, Utica, Hallen, Moisango, Evenhoven, Kekun, Azan, Kammeyer, Hedasani, Hartley, Agarwal, Shamsai, Berger, Momini, Nandal, James, Bailey, Johnson, Dugan, Loop, and Pursley. With that, we do have quorum for the evening. And with that, we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Speaker Pursley. All right, and so seeing no Senate program for this evening, we'll move directly into open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about any issues relevant to the student body. So if anyone here tonight is here for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. And I would ask senators, just as a note for our new senators as well, if you can close or mostly close your laptop as a sign of respect for our speaker. And with that, this time is yours.
All right. Thank you. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Peter Adams. I am the president of the Friley Senate, and I also represent Friley on the Interested Sol Association. In addition, I am the treasurer for the Society of Chemistry Undergraduate Majors, the Chemistry Outreach Club here at Iowa State. I am here today to express my disappointment that 2 weeks ago, student government chose not to pass the bill brought by Senator Pedasani that would have provided additional funding for Winterfest. One of the primary reasons Winterfest requested more funding is due to the increasing cost of food. According to the USDA, the All Consumer Price Index, which is used to calculate inflation specifically for food, increased by 25% from 2019 to 2023. Because of this, student organizations are limited in what and how much food they can purchase for their events without additional funding. Additionally, there are some benefits of providing additional funding to Winterfest that I believe student government hasn't considered. In economics, there is a term called externalities, which refers to the impact on third parties from a person or business's decisions. These externalities can be either positive or negative. For example, a coal plant emitting toxic dust into the air has negative effects on the people around the plant, but those effects are not borne by the coal plant itself. On the other hand, if you get vaccinated, besides the obvious benefit to yourself, you are providing a positive externality to those around you by reducing the chance that you will get them sick. I feel that student government has failed to adequately consider the positive externalities of providing Winterfest with additional funding. Besides the direct benefit to students and the community by hosting an event, Winterfest contributes to Iowa State's brand, strengthens connections between the university and the wider AIMS community, and provides a safe space for students to de-stress before the gruel of prep week. As treasurer of a student organization here on campus, I understand the importance of fiscal responsibility. However, there is a line between fiscal responsibility and failing to provide students with the events paid for by their student fees. And in my opinion, not providing Winterfest with the necessary funding for their event is clearly a case of the latter. I ask that you reassess your decision not to fund Senator Pedasani's bill. Winterfest is an amazing tradition here at Iowa State, but they cannot do what they do without proper financial support. Your decision to provide additional funding is an investment in student mental well-being, Iowa State University as a whole, and the entire AIMS community. Thank you all for your time. For me, I would, and if anyone has any questions for me, I would be happy to answer them.
I do apologize, but purely due to our bylaws, we don't permit debate on open forum.
Okay.
So I do apologize for the miscommunication there.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with student government, so thank you for letting me know. Yep.
Thank you. And with that, is there anyone else here tonight for open forum? Seeing no one else, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Is there a motion to do so? One of those a second? Moved and seconded to adopt this evening's agenda. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, it shall be adopted. And with that, we'll move into approving the previous minutes. Is there a motion to do that? Moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the previous minutes? Seeing no objections, they shall be approved. And we'll move directly into committee reports, starting with Speaker Momini and the Rules Committee.
All right. Rules had a meeting last week. It was really short. We will be meeting tomorrow, even though I forgot to send our agenda, so I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, things are going smoothly, and the baby bylaws will be coming to you guys soon, and we are very excited about that. That's all I got.
With that, the floor is open for questions or comments for the Rules Committee. Seeing none, we'll move on to Finance.
Good evening, everyone. Not much for me tonight. You'll be seeing a couple bills that went through finance. One of which will be tabled, but we'll let the senators talk a little bit more about that when we get there. Otherwise, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Floor is open for questions. Seeing none, we'll move directly on to the PR Committee.
Hi all. PR did not meet last week due to homecoming activities, so there's kind of a light load for PR, but in the past week we got a bunch of posts up, so please go like and share those and critique them as much as you want and send back the critique to either Chase or I. Thank you.
The floor is open for PR. All right, seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to the Idea Committee.
Hi guys, this week we didn't meet, so we don't have really much to add. I did have a meeting with MSA this lunch, so that was fun, that was good. We got in touch with them and started planning some stuff we can collaborate with.
All right, the floor is open for questions for the Idea Committee. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to the Events Committee.
Hi, everybody. Not a lot from the events committee. We are just beginning to plan the Know Your Leader series coming up in February of 2025. So book the 4 Tuesdays at 6 p.m. We're really excited to host that. And if you have any ideas of leaders you want there, please let Monet or I know. We're really excited to bring in a lot of different people. Our topics are athletics, administration, police and parking, and finances. So if you know any great leaders in those areas, please send them our way so that we can get them on the panel. Thank you.
And with that, the floor is open on events. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to local affairs.
Hi guys. So we are having the joint student government city council meeting in 2 weeks on November 20th. We're all really excited. The local affairs team has been working hard on the agenda, so I'd like to thank everyone, all the senators and at-larges who are on the local affairs team. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. We are most likely going to be having a short working meeting next week where I'll talk to you guys about just what we're looking at in terms of November 20th, which again is in 2 weeks, just outline kind of what we're going to see there. So that's about all from me. Again, if you have any questions or comments or anything you want to talk about maybe or bring up at the joint meeting, please let me know kind of the topic of it so that I can gather materials relevant to what you want to talk about to see if it's something we've already discussed. Thanks, guys.
And with that, the floor is open. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to sustainability.
So we had a super successful trash cleanup at the Greek Triangle with Josie yesterday. We had over 45 people come and collected, I think, 28 bags of trash. So that was super great. Eric was there taking pictures, so we'll have a social media post coming out by the end of the week. We also have seating a senator on the agenda for tonight, so I'm really excited about that. We're just getting more full, which is great. And then also our website just continues to get updated, so definitely check it out because I think it looks really good. So, yeah.
That, the floor is open for questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to health and wellness.
Hey guys, we met last week. We are currently reaching out to Sam Shelton to set up a date for Green Dot training. We're hoping to have that done before we leave for Christmas break. I also reached out to Ashley Pick, who is the Associate Director of Clinical Services. We're trying to find a time to meet with Thielen as a committee so we can help spread awareness for them and gather some information. She's trying to connect us with the right person at the moment. And then we meet tomorrow, and we're going to be designing the Green Flags poster. Senator Penasani has volunteered to use his Canva experience, so we're going to put him to the test.
With that, the floor is open for questions or comments for health and wellness. Seeing none, we'll move on to legislative ambassadors.
Hi, everyone. Colby, sorry that he can't be at Senate tonight. He's attending a professional development conference in Kansas City, so that's pretty cool. Tonight, you'll hear a bill seating 2 more at-larges and a senator to the Legislative Ambassadors Committee. He's very confident these are all going to be wonderful additions to the committee and successfully represent the student body. Additionally, he's in the process of identifying those key leaders and scheduling meetings with them, and he's working on planning the Big 12 on the Hill trip and getting those meetings set up. So, thank you.
Are there any questions for the legislative ambassadors? Seeing none, we'll move into that other category. This is an opportunity for any of you to speak about committees that are not otherwise represented on tonight's agenda. Seeing none, it's my understanding we don't have a judicial member updates. So if that, we'll move directly into comments from our advisor.
Hi, all. If there are a lot of you that got sat last week, so you should have gotten an email from me with instructions about how to fill out your information and get access to the student government door and all of that good stuff. I believe since I was here 2 weeks ago, I think everybody that didn't have access to the doors at that meeting should now have access. And we did find the cord to the computer, so yay. So the doors will be updated usually every Thursday. So if depending on when you get your stuff filled out in the MIS, if you don't have access now, check on Friday and then let me know if you don't have access. I don't want to alarm anyone, but it dawned on me that after tonight there are 3 Senate meetings left this semester. So if you have ideas for things you want to do, get working on them. And please remember that your committees should not be meeting nor should be planning any events during prep week or finals week. Other than that, take care of yourselves. I'm here if you need me.
All right, with that, are there any questions for our advisor? Seeing none, unfortunately, President Hirsch is a little bit under the weather today and couldn't join us. I'm sure he'll have plenty of updates for you all next week when he's back, especially after the Board of Regents meeting. And so if no comments from the executive branch, we'll move directly into our business for this evening, starting first with External Matter 2024-2-025F, Ethics Bowl Competition Trip Funding with Senator Kameyer.
Okay, so this went through finance. We passed it favorably. I believe it was unanimous as well. So essentially, all that it is just funding a trip for them to go from Iowa State to the University of Chicago for one of their competitions. And do we have a representative here for Ethics Bowl? No? Yes. Oh, I'll yield time to Senator Pedisani.
We're going to have to table this bill indefinitely as they are getting funding from a department, so they're ineligible for funding, and we were not informed of this up until today. So I motion to table this bill indefinitely.
Objection. Do we have more information on like where they're getting it from?
They're getting it from
can
the...
I yield to Finance Director Martinez?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this, guys. We just found out tonight. The president let me know that they had some additional funding outside of student government, and within our excuse me, within our PNC, it does make them funding ineligible. So just following our PNC guidelines, that's why we were asking to table this indefinitely. And for Noah's question here, they are getting funding from the philosophy department to pay for the registration fee for this conference.
All right, so I withdraw.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to table this item indefinitely. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be tabled. All right. Go ahead and take Senator Hartley off the roll unless there are objections to that. So if that will move into item 2024-2-026F, funding the Africa Learning and Evolving Community with Senator Jones.
Hi, everyone. We talked about this in finance last meeting. Go ahead and ask us questions.
And with that, the floor is open for debate. Starting with Senator Pedisani.
A bit more information on this bill. If you can scroll down to the line items, please. We've zero funded majority of the things on there as one of the line items has already passed, and they'll be bringing a separate bill for their Thanksgiving farewell social with a different plan for that as a bill in and of itself. So we're only funding poster printing of $60, which is what they're eligible up to for the entire year.
Senator Kameyer.
I'll also add this also passed through Finance Committee favorably. And I know that it looks just like a complete cluster of, but we went through it and just decided as a group it made sense to only have, with what our PNC requires, poster printing, and then again, as Senator Pedisani said, having a separate event bill for their Thanksgiving social, as there were just too many questions that we had at that time. Thank you.
Speaker Momini.
I have a question, possibly for Finance Director. Is there a reason why they aren't here today?
Yeah, they just couldn't make it tonight, and the amount is so small. But I will say that we vetted this through and through.
Okay.
We asked, I mean, it's such a small amount. Not to say that you guys shouldn't ask any questions, but we spent a lot of time on this bill. The original amount that they were requesting was originally a lot larger than this, but using the PNC document to vet this is the amount that we got to.
No problem, thank you.
Right, Senator Utica.
Hi, I'm also a member of this organization, and I will also want to tell you guys to vote good for this bill, and also I would like to abstain myself since I'm a member of the organization. Thank you.
Senator Kameyer.
Motion to remove Senator Utica from the roll. Okay.
Was your intent just to abstain from the vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
That answers your
I
question?
just thought we were going to make that tradition to remove, but I guess not.
With that, the floor is open for any further debate. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Senator Jones.
UC.
I do apologize, it is a finance bill, but I love the spirit on that. I do apologize, but seeing as this is a finance bill, we'll move directly into a roll call vote. So when I call your name, please say yes, no, or you may abstain. Starting with Iono Dimhoff. Rahman. Rolls. Reinhardt. Jones. Helzer. O'Connor. Utica. Allen. Moisango. Nievenhoven. Kekun. Azan. Kameyer. Pedisani. Hartley. Oh, apologies, we took her off the roll there for a moment. Agarwal. Damsai. Berger. Momini. Nandal. James. Bailey. Johnson. Dugan. Sloop, and Pursley. 1 second while we tally that. All right, and so with a vote of 25 to 0 to 1, congratulations, the motion carries. Next, we'll move into item 2024-2-028F, funding for the Election Commission with Senator Moisango.
So the Election Commission came in asking for funds for public slates. We'll give them time to explain.
Hi, everybody. This funding is just funding that wasn't appropriated during the spring appropriations process. The reason is that this is the money that was left into account. So the $2,000 that got spent by the Hirsch Margaret campaign got replenished. And then we had $4,000 that was left in the account. So during the transition process, I'd originally put forward a carryover request, but with the transition between the finance directors, it didn't get approved. So when COA went through the money, they took the money out. So we're just asking for the money to come in so we can accommodate public funding for this upcoming election. Because right now we only have $2,000, and the election code does require at least $6,000 on that account. So I'm open to questions.
With that, the floor is open, starting with Vice Speaker Pursley.
If more than three groups run, do you come back and ask for more money for those elections?
The way that works is if we have more than 3, the 6,000 will get divided amongst. If it's 4, it will get divided amongst those people, but they'll all still have equal funding.
Okay.
Senator Kameyer.
I'm sure you guys are kind of getting sick of this, but this also passed through Finance Committee favorably. It was unanimous, and honestly, we didn't have to have too much discussion on it because I feel like this is funding that they definitely should have received in allocations, and just given how their code is written, I definitely support this.
Senator Azan.
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question related to Vice Speaker Josie. So let's say if you have 3 candidates running for slate, do you think 6,000 will be enough to do the job, or you need more money for this? What's the Election Commission opinion on this?
I think the position of the Election Commission is that it should be enough. In fact, Iowa State is on the high end of public funding for campaigns. Most Big 12 schools don't have any public funding for campaigns, and if they do, it's roughly like 500. It's under 1,000. So we're actually on the higher end of that. So we anticipate that should be more than enough money.
Awesome. I yield.
If you do have to withdraw, we have Iono Dimhoff. Time's yours.
Just a motion to add Senator Hartley back to the roll.
All right. Any objections? Seeing none, she shall be added. Appreciate the commitment to taking yourself off the roll there. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? None. Closing comments with Senator Moisango.
I'll just say for this, our slates definitely do need this funding. Yeah, I yield.
All right. And so with that, once again, we'll move into a roll call vote, starting with Iono Dimhoff. Rahman, Rolls, Reinhardt, Jones, Helzer, O'Connor, Utica, Hallen, Moisango, Evenhoven, Kekun, Azan, Kameyer, Pedasani, Hartley, Agarwal, Jamsai, Berger, Momini, Nondal, James, Bailey, Johnson, Dugan, Sloop, and Pursley. One moment there. All right, and so with a vote of 27 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-022F, funding for the Diwali event with Senator Moisango.
The Indian Students Association came in requesting funding for Diwali event, which is this Sunday. We have a representative come to the podium.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. I'm Ayush. I'm the Vice President of the Indian Students Association. So Diwali is an annual event that the Indian Students Association hosts. And this year we are planning to have it much bigger in scale as compared to previous years. So the additional funding we require is for that.
And with that, the floor is open, starting with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Are they going to have enough time to put the flyers up and everything before?
Yep, so we're starting all that tonight itself.
Okay, cool. I yield.
Senator Azan.
I'm still confused about if it's on this Sunday, and it will not give, you will not get money directly, right? So I'm going to yield my time to Finance Director. How much time does it take to get money if this is this Sunday and event, and we are almost Wednesday? So do you have any idea how long it will get to get actual money so that they can do transaction?
There will not be an issue getting the funds to them by this time.
Okay. Awesome. So question for you. Are you planning to acknowledge student government on any social media? If yes, what's the plan? How are you going to do?
Absolutely. So
Awesome.
we will mention student government helped us organize this whole event because it was thanks to your generous contributions that we were able to have it. And on top of that, student government, of course, gets free entry to the event.
I yield. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to add Senator Gopa to the roll. Are there any objections? Seeing none, he shall be sat. So with that, the floor is open for further debate with Senator Kammeier.
Okay, I was about to do the same thing, so thank you. Just one more time, this passed through Finance Committee favorably. We've been talking about this bill for yield to Director Carver. I might have gotten that wrong.
We passed this bill with no bias.
Okay, never mind. But yeah, so, and the reason for that, we discussed it for a really long time and just wanted the senators to give their final opinion on it. Again, if you have any questions about the amounts, they can look kind of weird with the paid by organization and amount requested. Any of us are free to answer those.
Senator Rolls.
I was wondering, how many people are you expecting at this event?
So the minimum number we expect is at least 400 people, and maybe up to 600 at most.
And have you held this event previously?
Yes, so every year.
Okay. And are you expecting kind of like a rise in people
Okay,
coming?
so we've held it, so last year attendance for this event has been 475, but that event took place in Ames City Hall as compared to this time it's taking place in the Great Hall. So we find that the Great Hall being a venue has been more accessible to students and members of the general public because you have bus services and everything. And on top of that, we've seen a small spike in attendance for one of our other events this semester. So we can expect the same trend to be for the Diwali as well.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Senator Azan.
Okay. I'm not like too familiar with Diwali, so help me out on that. I think it's the religious event or something too, or cultural event, right? So when I can see there's this get involved booklet. So Diwali happened in spring as well?
No, okay, so we were told that we can just request for the Get Involved booklet money once and just use it next semester.
But event is already took place, so what
Yeah, we won't be using it for Diwali. We'll just be using it for our next event.
Yeah, I'm gonna yield some time to Finance Director Evan.
Okay, so ISA did not have the ability to go through annual allocations. So, or not that they didn't have the ability, they just did not go through annual allocations. So so they would have the opportunity to have a funds for a Get Involved booklet for the spring. We went ahead and funded them through this bill
For what event?
to sponsor ISA.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's not related to Diwali or anything.
Correct.
Any like
Yes,
general
they
marketing.
just since they don't have a budget right now, we let them know that they could do it through
Okay.
here. Correct.
I yield.
Floor is open for any further debate. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with Senator Moisango?
Once again, vote for this favorably. Yeah, I yield.
With that, we'll move into our roll call vote, starting with Iono Dimhoff, Rahman, Rolls, Reinhardt, Jones, Helzer, O'Connor, Utica, Allen, Moisango, Evenhoven, Ekun, Azan, Kameyer, Pedasani, Hartley, Agarwal, Shamsai, Berger, Gopa, Mamani, Nandal, James, Bailey, Johnson, Dugan, Loop, and Pursley. Okay, and so with a vote of 28 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing all of you on Saturday at 5 p.m.
Thank you. I'll add that in just a second. And so with that, we're going to move on to item 2024-2-001ST, removal of a GPSS senator. And so I will say for all of our senators, whether you're new or not, there's a slightly different procedure for this, but it does begin with 10 minutes for the bill's author, in this case Speaker Momini, to kind of explain what this is and hopefully give you some context so you have a bit more of a picture here. And so that's not a 10-minute period that we're able to limit debate on or interrupt. And so Speaker can use as much or as little of that 10 minutes as she likes. And this time is hers.
All right, so first I just want to make it clear that I have no bias. I am leaving this decision up to the Senate. I am just going to give you a statement of the facts as I am aware of them. So the process started with an email to me from Kekung expressing interest. He was then invited to a rules meeting where rules asked him some questions to further see if he was interested in Senate. He wasn't 100% sure if he was interested in Senate. So we gave him some information. He said that he would like to continue. I then sent an email to the GPSS president with his name, asking if they could interview him as they had an open seat and somebody who was interested. After that, they had interviewed him and said that they would be okay with him having the seat, but because of our articles of cooperation, they had the Articles of Cooperation state that either the GPSS Constituency Council needs to approve it or it needs to be, he would be sat through way of an executive order. Since they did not meet until October 28th, they could have waited until October 28th to seat him or could have sent me an executive order. The former was done and I was sent an executive order for him to be sat. And then of course you all seen him and approved him and he was sat and sworn in. In that process, once they met on the 28th of October, because of the wording of their executive order and how GPSS operates, they were subject to either confirm or change the nominee that they sent. At the October 28th meeting, they decided to change the nominee from somebody to somebody else. Kekung was not formally invited to that meeting. He was not attached in their version of our legislative packet. He was given word of mouth about the meeting, and the same day was sent a message, but not by somebody in their exec or higher up positions. So it was not a formal invitation. There was some contention around this as of the previous knowings of whether or not he did or did not know, and a certain lack of communication between him and the said deadline for their constituency council meeting. So that's about all the information that I have from the GPSS side of things, is that there was a miscommunication. He was not able to attend their constituency council meeting, and at that meeting, he was voted to be not necessarily removed from his seat, but for another to try and take it. So after that, I received an email saying that they would like to go forward with the replacement of Kekung with the other individual. And so that is why you have a removal bill before you. It is because procedurally, that is how it has to be done. With that, I have some more information. He has not missed any office hours. He has not missed any Senate meetings. He has not defaulted on any of his duties as a senator. So with that, him being seated, it is up to Senate, all of you, to decide whether or not you would like to remove him from his position on the basis of the decision that GPSS made and not because of a default of his duties. And that is all I have. I yield.
All right, and so seeing as that's the end of your 10 minutes, Senator Kekun, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you do have an opportunity for up to 15 minutes if you'd like to add any context. You don't have to, but again, that would be uninterrupted. So this time is yours if you would like it.
Okay, I would like to thank the speaker for giving an explanation of actually what transpired. What happened is just exactly as she has said, and I think it was kind of like a gap in communication and a very serious breach from GPSS side, because I wasn't added to the emailing list of the GPSS, and I wasn't formally invited to appear before GPSS, maybe to present myself, or if there was an additional procedure to undertake for my position. Now, when GPSS sat, I think there was also a notion that I was absent, maybe carelessly or intentionally. And I don't know, maybe the executive did not categorically explain to the Senate that they actually did not invite me to come for that ratification. Also, I think with that notion, most senators too, I think everything was kind of skewed, and they went ahead to have an election because someone else indicated interest for the position. And I seriously call that to question, because how would an election be called in which I'm a party, I'm involved, because my name and that other person were both of us, and GPSS went ahead with that election without me being present, and also without me having the opportunity, just as the other person had the opportunity to explain himself or state his reasons why he would like to occupy the same position. And with this, I think I call to question whatever process that went on in the GPSS, and actually hold that in contest. And I'm still in the process also working to see on how that can actually be resolved. And I've stated it categorically to the GPSS, and also that they should ensure the right thing be done. Yeah.
All right, and so if you would like that to be the end of your 15 minutes then?
Yes, I'm open to any clarification or questions.
I appreciate that. Last phase before we open this up just for general debates or discussion on this is the bill's author once again will have 5 minutes in closing if she wishes.
I'm going to keep this one short. I just want you all to go in this with all the facts, ask questions if you are confused, and hopefully I've painted you all a pretty clear picture of how things happened, and make your best judgment call. I think that it's a pretty serious choice and decision to remove somebody from their seat, and that's all I have. I yield.
All right, and so with that, we're going to open the floor for general debate. You have up to 38 minutes, which is the remaining time on this bill. Again, you don't have to use all of it. We'll start debate with Senator Azan.
So I'm going to share two perspectives. One perspective will be GPSS perspective, and then I'm going to share my opinion as well as a senator. So the GPSS perspective, so we had the executive order. Since GPSS meet only once in a month, and there was a request of a candidate that is interested in this position, So GPSS president, after meeting, I don't know if you guys meet or not, but decided to represent that person temporarily until October 28. So she gave the power to GPSS Senate to decide whether they're gonna continue with that nomination or they're gonna nominate a different person. So the way this executive order is written, so it's more about that Senator Cocoon can represent GPSS until October 28 when we officially meet, and then we're gonna have a bill and a discussion in floor. If the Senate approved that in GPSS, he will continue. If it's not, if there's a new candidate, that candidate can be considered. So that is GPSS perspective on that. So the way it happened, we had meeting on October 28 in GPSS. GPSS President Wren presented the bill in Senate. There was an objection by a senator. That senator was interested in that position. There was a second on that objection, and there was a motion to open the floor for election. Now, and there was a second on that too. So we opened the floor for election, and then I didn't do voting on any of these, by the way, just for point of information about anything. The objection was from a different senator. After this, I did ask clarification point of information to Vice President of GPSS. Do we have to have a senator actually present in the GPSS meeting when we have a floor election or anything? And this is also cleared in GPSS rules or standing document. It's not required to have a person present in the time of meeting when we have an election or something. So that is not required in our bylaws to have a person actually present when they are doing voting or anything. Anyone can comment from their perspective, represent any person on the floor. And President of GPSS actually presented the bill. So that was that. And then we had elections. So the other candidate got like 38 votes and he got like 5 votes. So we ended up having a different person for this position from GPSS perspective. Now, things happen from GPSS point of view as well in terms of lack of communication, and that's something that we can work on as an organization. So there's a process. A person can contest the election results, can reach out to Rules Committee and Election Commissioner, and then can review it, and we can have a separate bill in GPSS if Rules Committee thinks that that's the best way to talk about. And then he can give, so that he has equal opportunity to present himself in front of GPSS Senate. So right now, GPSS thinks that a person that is currently a senator in GPSS will be a better candidate to represent themselves in a student government compared to someone who is not a senator. So that's their perspective. But I think it is important to have equal opportunity. So my personal opinion, in order to have this sorted out, because it's a mess, I literally hate it, to remove any person from student government. Now, that's my opinion. My opinion is to actually table it until he can officially contest the results, and then we can sort it out internally in GPSS, and he should give an equal opportunity to present himself on the floor election, and then so that we can smooth things up. That's my personal opinion on this too. And I think it sucks that if you are not informed officially about having election on that day and someone voted against. With that, I yield.
Senator Kameyer.
Okay, I have a couple questions. First, for the speaker, do we have a representative other than Azan from GPSS?
No.
Okay. I actually in terms of tabling, I do definitely agree with Azan because, I think that the senator deserves to go to GPSS for them to more so sort this out, and I think that we should hear from a GPSS representative because I feel like in some ways we are kind of doing similar to what they did. However, if we decide not to table, I would definitely be rejecting this bill. I think that our senator has done his position remarkably well. He's incredibly kind, and I also I'll just say the way that GPSS did this, basically giving him a temporary senator position. And were you made aware that it would just be temporary when you became
asking
a
me?
senator? Kekum.
Okay, just like this, the speaker said, it was based on the wording of the executive order. So, and he referenced that, and even in part of my communication with GPSS after this incident, I've actually had to point that out, that trying to spin the wording of the executive order against me in a situation where it was actually a fault from their end, them refusing to take responsibility, I think would be saying half the truth, because the speaker has explained the whole procedure that went through. In fact, I think the GPSS president, when the speaker contacted her that, okay, we've interviewed this person, and so she contacted me personally, and everything was okay, and she went ahead to the speaker that, okay, you could go ahead. Only when the speaker found out that, okay, there were some other requirements and contacted her, and with just that single clause, that's what maybe they're trying to spin again. And I call that seriously the question that, okay, if there were to be an election, I've represented GPSS in this Senate, isn't it fair, at least, to invite me to GPSS to state my position, or my capacity or capability to represent them here, and also even adding me to the emailing list to be aware that, okay, I have to come also.
Yeah. And I would also add, it's written in our bylaws that for someone like a graduate student senator, for me as a residence hall senator, we're supposed to be at our constituency councils. And if our constituency council presidents aren't letting us be there, I think that that's kind of dangerous. So
Can I get some yielding?
yeah, and I'll just yield to Senator Azan.
Okay, so I'm just going to quote the order so that everyone has the bigger picture, and then I will have one more comment on that. So the order says, executive order, that, I don't know how to pronounce the first name, Kekun be seated as senator at large to represent graduate students to student government until the next GPSS meeting dated October 28, 2024, when the order can be ratified or a new candidate put forward by the Senate. So that was the order. So again, point of information on this too, it was not a planned election at all. It was just a motion to open the floor for the candidate, okay? So there was an objection on the candidate by a senator, just like us, we have separate body. So it was not a planned election or something. So there was a motion from a senator, and then second, and then we opened the floor for a different candidate to nominate himself or nominate any other person. So there was another nomination, and that's the process that happened. So, yeah.
Senator Utica.
So I wanted to know, how many senators do we have for GPSS?
I think it's
Point of information, we have 2 senators for GPSS.
Two senators. Yeah. And we already have Hazan and Kekun. So if there was to be an election, they will first of all remove someone first before they do an election, right?
Yeah, so they already decided another person, so but we have to remove someone to
Okay.
set that field.
So you guys didn't follow the procedure fully. That's it.
Are you yielding my time?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
yielding.
So from GPSS vice president perspective, they follow the procedure as per their governing documents. So the procedure is as usual. There's a motion, objection, nomination, exactly the same procedure. So we did not violate any procedure from GPSS perspective, okay? So the only lack of communication will be that he did not get the agenda. So that is a big thing. And that's something that he can work on internally in GPSS to resolve that issue so that we have a good relationship with GPSS. That's my perspective now. But in terms of GPSS perspective, they did not violate any proceedings so far.
No, that's not my question. My question is this. for there to be an election, there should be a vacant seat.
From their perspective, it is vacant because it's October 28th, so.
Okay,
So
it is vacant.
it was vacant.
And secondly, the election was between who and who?
A senator, currently a senator in GPSS,
Okay.
and nominee, Senator Kekung, basically.
Was he informed of the election?
That's what I'm saying, that he was not informed at all because it was not planned. It was just an executive order being rectified in Senate, but it was not ratified. Senate decided to put a new candidate and then open the floor for election in the meeting.
So in the election, who represented Kekun?
GPSS president, because she was the one presenting the bill.
So, like, from what I understand, if two people are kind of going for an election, they should actually state what they plan on doing for the constituents, right? So, if Kekun wasn't there and someone represented him, it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with that, personally. I agree with that, but the bylaws and the governing document in standing rules does not require us to have a person present in the time of election.
If the person is not present, then why put his name up for vote? It still doesn't make sense at all. Because for me, this is more like a, for me, I think it's not fair on Kekun, to be honest. Because as a graduate student, I know what it takes for someone to come here. I leave my research and I leave what I have to do to come here. It kind of takes a toll. And for him, first of all, like you said, the GPSS made a mistake by not inviting him first. And first of all, not inviting, and you guys had an election, for me, that's bad. I yield.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
Okay, so I have a couple points that I want to go through, but my first point is that although GPSS had time limits on the executive order they passed, the bill we passed does not have a time limit. And we passed that bill, and our senators stay sat until the end of their term. And that's how it is in student governments. Governing documents, which is different from how GPSS runs their government fundamentally. And that's not necessarily a problem, it's just a difference in how we run things. So it kind of makes their executive order work differently with how we run because we don't have a time limit. And that's why we're running into this process where we have to remove a senator. But secondly, I think that if we are going to entertain the idea of motioning to table, let's table this bill indefinitely until the end of the second session. Since there are only 3 Senate meetings left, we can let Kekun sit on the last 3 Senate meetings, and then GPSS has ample time to hold a fair election. We can rewrite the legislation once we are in our 3rd session after break, and I think that would make everything a little bit easier. So I think that is definitely an option that we can think about. I yield.
Speaker Momine.
I appreciate the insight from Senator Azan about GPS Senate and how they do things. I just want to express to all the senators that and we make decisions separately. I understand the notion for wanting to table the bill so GPSS can resolve the issues internally, but that's not a guarantee, and we could still see this bill come up again. With that, I feel like it's okay. Anyways, just a point of information about how voting on this bill would work is that it takes 2/3 of Senate as a whole, not just seated senators, but just senators, which means that it would need 22 yeses to pass, and anything less than 22 yeses would cause for the bill to fail. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Senator Agarwal.
I would just like to agree with Senator Momine, or Speaker Momine and Vice Speaker Pursley, and I feel like GPSS should have a representative here other than Azan, so that there's no overlap in their thought processes and how they're involved with both organizations. And I feel like we would also be able to get a more just picture from someone who's not involved in both organizations at the same time.
Senator Pedisani.
I kind of would like to reiterate the point that Senator Utica made of that, as what I'm understanding, Senator Kekung wasn't notified of the election at all and was brought up out of nowhere. So I don't think he should be held accountable, and this bill should not be passing at all due to the failure of GPSS notifying him of there is going to be an election, there was an election, and there was just so much poor communication that this should not be even in conversation of should we pass this or not. It should just be fail the bill.
Senator Kameyer.
I do agree with Senator Pedisani. However, since we have our election commissioner here, I do wonder, would this be an ample reasoning for something like a special election? If someone wants to give our election commissioner
graduate and
a mic.
professional senate is totally different. So student government is undergraduate mostly representing different constituency. Graduate and professional student senate is totally different. They have different election, commissioner, different process. So, I mean, you cannot answer on behalf of GPSS, right? Because that will be a GPSS thing about the process of election, SIU office, basically.
I'm going to yield to Vice President Margaret because I feel like he knows something.
Okay, I mean, just to add on to very briefly to what Senator Azan was saying, so the reason you would have a constituency council nominating someone to fill a seat was because we didn't fill it in the last election. So traditionally, if a seat is not filled in an election, it's filled just by constituency council throughout that term. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, but we do now have two people challenging for the, never mind.
Point of information, procedurally, what we are doing is correct, and it does not call for a special election.
Senator Azan.
So I just want to add a couple of things here. Personally, I think we should vote for no. That's my opinion. It sucks to have someone removed who is doing everything on paper correct. If we have to vote. GPSS perspective, since it's a separate entity, separate constituency, a GPSS senator get a stipend of $600 per semester as well if they represent them into student government. That is an amount of money that is actually coming from GPSS. So think about from that perspective that if we are voting no or not considering the GPSS opinion, because GPSS thinks that there's a different person who is more eligible, or there's a different person they want them to represent them in a student government, that will put the credibility basically of Senator Kukung right now, because technically he is representing GPSS, but GPSS doesn't want him to represent. So I'm just confused about the process, how in terms of I don't know if Speaker Momney can answer on this, because I don't want to mess up the relationship between two different, senates. So the credibility of the senator in terms of GPSS does not want him to represent. They want a different person to represent them.
So unfortunately, when they gave me that executive order, they gave permission for Senate to see Senator Kekung. Senator Kekung was sat. He was sworn in. I'm sure there's a picture somewhere. He is a senator. And if they failed to recognize that the only way for a senator to be removed is through a removal bill, that is not the fault of Senate. He is legitimate, whether they want him to be or not, because the only avenue for removing him is how we're doing it right now. If we choose not to remove him and they choose to ignore the fact that he is a senator, that is something that our Rules Committee will discuss.
Okay.
And that is all I have to say about it.
Yeah, my major concern is it's not fair. I'm getting $600 and he will not get $600. just because GPSS doesn't want. Yeah, it's complex, but I yield.
Senator Moisango.
Question to Senator Azan. Has this issue been solved within GPSS yet, or it's still pending?
So that's why I was saying to motion the bill. So he has option to contest the election by reaching out to Vice President of GPSS and Election Commissioner, SIU officer basically, and then they can have a meeting and they can have a separate bill in Senate in November where he will have equal opportunity to present himself in front of Senate and let the Senate decide who they want them to represent GPSS in a student government. So that will be the smoother process from my perspective as well. But it's up to the Senate to decide, to be honest.
So as Azan is saying,
And again, one more thing, I'm not involved in any of this process. So just want to say, it's the GPSS president, vice president, and a speaker. I have nothing to do with any of the process. Since we don't have GPSS president here right now, that's why I'm speaking from GPSS perspective.
okay, as Azan is saying, this issue has not been solved internally within GPSS. We do not know what the result will be like. Maybe GPSS can still want to continue with Senator Kekung, and I think it's not right if we see this bill right now. With that, I motion to table this bill.
Appreciate it. To table this bill, was there a time length or indefinitely?
Indefinitely.
Moved and seconded to table this bill indefinitely. Are there any objections to doing so?
Points of information, there are only 3 meetings left in this session.
Moved and seconded to table this bill indefinitely. Are there any objections to doing so? Being no objections, this matter shall be tabled indefinitely. All right, with that, we'll move on to item 2024-2-002ST, removal of an election commission member. And so just for a point of information, this is slightly a different process because you'd be removing someone that's not internal to Senate. And so slightly different structure, and it's, to the best of my knowledge and my reading of the bylaws, there is an opening speaking privilege on this. And so that'll go to Speaker Momini if she wishes to add some context about what this is and what your next steps are.
So I am adding in a whereas clause that is spelled wrong. Don't look at that. Just for a little bit of context, we put on the bill for, historical purposes when we print it and people go to look at it. But it's just going to say the reason why this bill is up. And while I am making that change, I am going to yield the rest of my opening speaking privilege to the Election Commission.
Thank you. This is a statement from the Election Commission in regards to this matter. Since being confirmed by the Iowa State Student Government Senate on September 25th, Grace has only attended one of the 6 scheduled Election Commission meetings. She has not responded to multiple attempts by the Election Commissioner to contact her. And her last login on Microsoft Teams is recorded on October 14, 2024. Multiple outreach efforts have been made since that date with no response from her. On October 8, 2024, Grace, along with all the other members of the Election Commission, was formally reminded of the attendance policy outlined within the Election Commission Constitution, which stipulates that any member occurring 3 unexcused absences may be considered for removal from the Commission. Upon reaching 2 unexcused absences, Grace received a formal warning. However, she subsequently failed to initiate contact with the Election Commissioner. It is widely understood that Microsoft Teams sends email notifications when messages go unread after a certain period. Grace, therefore, would have received multiple email reminders, both from the Election Commissioner, Santi, reaching out directly, and from the messages posted in the Election Commission group chat. Despite these notifications, she has not responded to any communication efforts. This ongoing attendance issue has created quorum challenges, forcing the Election Commission meetings to be delayed and reduced to working sessions until additional members arrive, usually 30 minutes later. Removing Grace has firmer position would address these quorum issues, enabling the Commission to hold official meetings as scheduled and avoid further disruptions to the Commission proceedings.
And with that, the floor is open, starting with Speaker Momini.
I just want to direct your attention to the two bottom whereas clauses. I am now going to motion to amend the bill to add those two whereas clauses. It just gives some specification on something that is important to the next step, as well as a whereas clause explaining what the commission just went over, that 3 meetings were missed, and that it is hindering their ability to have quorum. So with that, I motion to amend the bill.
So moved. Second.
Withdraw, let me change something real quick. Now I motion to amend it with it as an ordered clause rather than a whereas clause.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to add in that last whereas clause and first ordered clause. Are there any objections to either of those amendments? Or doing it as one amendment, any objection to that amendment? No objection, it shall be made. Back on the bill as a whole. Moving over then to Senator Azan.
So did you guys get a chance to have like one-on-one discussion with Grace about, I just want to get a bigger picture, maybe there might be like family issues, personal issues, or
We have reached out to her two separate times, and we reached out to her yesterday, telling her that we did have a bill up in regards to this. She has not made any effort to reach out to us.
Okay, awesome. Are you?
Senator Jones.
I had the same question of, she didn't respond back to, she was notified that the bill was about her today, but
She was notified yesterday that there was a bill up in regards to this. She has made no effort in response.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Senator Azan.
So you said yesterday, but I'm just talking in general, like the process of like communication about, these are the
Yeah,
things.
she was notified when she got her 2 unexcused absences, and then when
Okay.
she got her 3rd, she was also reminded.
No response,
No
nothing.
response, nothing.
All right, so with that, the floor is open for any further debate. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, back to Speaker Momney with any closing comments. All right, and so just as a piece of context for this bill, because it is removing or would be removing someone outside of Senate's membership, this time it would take half of seated senators, so that would be 16 of you voting yes. And then as a check on the Senate's ability, because it's outside your membership, it would then be seen by the court, and then they would make the final approval for this to be done. At least that's my understanding of the process here and my best reading of it. So with that, we'll move into a vote. Placard vote, so unless someone has a strong preference for a roll call vote. Okay. So if that will move into a placard vote, you do have the option again to vote yes, no, or of course you may abstain. First of all, can I get those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, thank you all. And so with a vote of 25 to 0 to 3, the motion carries. This will be sent to the court. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so if that will move into internal matters, starting first with let me see if we're good to go on that one first. We all set? Perfect. With that, we'll start with Special Order 2024-2-008 SC, seating a College of Agriculture and Life Sciences senator with Speaker Momney.
Okay, just a little bit of background that I was just explaining to the nominee before us is that we don't have a justice here, so I'm still going to invite him up to the podium to tell us about himself, but if we vote him in, he will not be able to vote until he is sworn in, hopefully next week when a justice is here. So just some background information for anybody who might not know that. And I sincerely apologize. With that, you have the floor.
So my name is Riker Marcus, and I am an ag education major. I'm a freshman, and I decided to try and become a Cal Senator because of some people in the Dairy Science Club who have told me that we needed someone to sit, and then I also just followed up with them and asked them about it, and it sounded really fun, and also just something that I'd be really passionate about. And so I didn't know much at first, but I've looked into it a lot, and I looked into especially a couple of the committees, and I thought that Rules Committee or Finance Committee would be a fun one to be on. And I have a decent amount of leadership experience in my past. I was in FFA. I served as a treasurer, vice president, then president. I'm also the president of my dorm floor, the treasurer of PAS. I served as an assistant to one of our NHS, our National Honor Society officers back in high school. And I worked very closely on some projects with some superintendents in my area, and I had to work with them and the principals to make a day for 8th graders to do workshops. So I have leadership experience, and I'm just really excited and passionate about student government.
With that, the floor is open for debate, starting with Speaker Momini.
I just wanted to add in that Riker came to the rules meeting and was sent favorably the same way that the candidates that we seen last week were. So I yield.
Senator Jones.
Do you have any, excuse me, do you have any specific projects in mind you'd like to work on if you were sat as senator?
So I have thought about that since they had asked me about it at the Rules Committee meeting. And I don't really have any specific projects yet, but as I'm only a freshman, I figure that I will just listen to all of my peers in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, see if anything that they're specifically asking for, and then just do my best to represent them, as well as just represent the Senate as a whole.
Senator Azan.
Can you describe yourself in one word?
Dedicated.
Awesome. Are you?
That, the floor is open for any further debate or discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Speaker Momini.
First, since you can't be sworn in and you can't be added to the roll, you're technically not required to stay. Yeah. But with that, UC.
UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? No objections. Congratulations, the motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-038SG, seating a senator to the Sustainability Committee with Speaker Momini.
I am going to invite Senator James up to the podium. Just tell us why you want to join, maybe a project that you have in mind.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aiden. I am a freshman. I'm majoring in civil engineering with an environmental emphasis, and I plan to use some experience that I gained there in order to better the sustainability committee and its efforts, as well as I just think that sustainability is very important, and we should spend a lot of time kind of making sure that things will be able to continue as they do.
Okay, and so if that, the floor is open for debate. Pardon? Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate. Almost didn't get into debate there. Are there any objections to ending debate at this time? Being no objections, any closing comments with Speaker Momini? UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Next is item 2024-2-039 SG, seating members to the Legislative Ambassadors Committee with Speaker Momini.
All right, I'm gonna do the same, invite the two at-larges and the one senator on the bill to, for the at-larges, and I guess Raj, if he wants to tell us about himself again, and then why you want to join legislative ambassadors and maybe what point you're looking forward to representing, and that's it.
Good to go? Okay, perfect. Hi, so my name is Isabella, or Izzy Phillips. I'm a double major in Human Resource Management and International Business in the Ivy College of Business, and I'm minoring in political science, actually. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, but I've been living in Minnesota for about 5 years, so gotta know the Midwest now. And this is my first year at Iowa State. I am a freshman here. I have a lot of prior legislative experience. I actually have been lobbying at Congress for the past 2 summers for Breakthrough T1D, and I've actually been lobbying within Washington and Minnesota since I was about 6 years old. With Breakthrough T1D, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I was brought in through that. So I have been in and out of the executive branch since I was really little. My parents used to take me in there. And I also did what's called Youth in Government for 5 years, where it is mock government, and I was the floor leader for 3 years. And I also was in the Youth Governor's Cabinet as the Commissioner of Health and Human Services because of my prior experience inside of Congress and everything. But yeah, I really want to join the committee. I'm very passionate about legislative aid, and I would love to get more involved in the college, and I think this would be a great way. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If you two would like to add something, and then we'll discuss all 3 of you as a whole.
Thank you for your time. My name is Nicola Maniello. I'm a sophomore student at Iowa State University, majoring in criminal justice and double majoring in psychology and political science. I come from a small town in Chile called Iquique, and unfortunately I don't have any previous legislative experience per se, but I am very passionate about representing this community because Iowa State has lent me the hand that I needed when I first came here. I have virtually nothing, and you guys helped me all the way until the person I am now. So for me, that's the main motivation. I want to be in this room and help all of you guys. Thank you.
My name is Raj. For those you who don't know me, I'm a double major in MIS and supply chain with a minor in marketing. And I attended the Board of Regents meeting, and I thought our legislative priorities were really interesting, and I just want to be a part of the committee to gain more insight.
All right, thank you all. And with that, the floor is open, starting with Senator Gopa.
Cool. So we have 2 priorities for this semester, next semester in Legislative Ambassadors. It's going to be mental health funding and the workforce development grant. Have you guys looked into it at all, or has Kobe Bryant talked to you about it at all? If not, that's totally fine.
For me, Colby mentioned it real quickly when I was with him, and I really want to he mentioned that we would talk more about it at the meeting, and he would have more research on it for me there, and I want to do a little more research on it before I get to the meeting, but I understand there's a Board of Regents coming up soon that could possibly affect some of this, so I really want to pay attention to that.
Okay, so this is for Nick and Raj. I know you guys don't have previous experience, neither did I when I joined the committee. How are you guys going to make your points come across well in the state capitol, and how are you going to react to it if someone says no to your face, because that happens sometimes?
Like I said, I don't have any experience with this committee, and the only reason I'm looking to join is to gain that experience. So I don't know how to answer that question as of right now, but hopefully after I'm set, I will have an answer for you.
Would you like to repeat that, please?
Yeah, so it's okay not to have any experience. I didn't have any experience when I joined this committee as well, but how are you gonna get your points across at the state capitol? Well, are you a good speaker, and what happens if you're faced with rejection?
Well, first of all, I believe myself I'm a good speaker, appropriate speaker.
Can you go to the microphone?
Yes, sorry about that. I believe myself to be an adequate speaker. Of course, there will be nervousness. As for my experience, I don't have any in that matter. But I believe you will need to react with professionalism if denied, as well as professionalism if accepted. So that will be my answer on that.
Cool. Yeah.
Speaker Momini.
Yeah, I just have a friendly for myself to change this to only say second session. I just want to let you guys know.
Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? No objections. Any closing comments with Speaker Momini? UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing these nominees by way of unanimous consent? No objections. Congratulations, the motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2024-2-001A, Senate apportionment with Speaker Momini.
All right, so just a quick background. We saw this on first read last week. Senate apportionment is just a fancy term for saying how many of us get to sit around this table. With that, I'm going to yield to the Election Commission to explain the changes.
As I mentioned last week, there's only one significant change. It is UROC is losing 1 seat, so instead of 11 seats, it will go down to 10 seats, which does decrease the total number of seats from 36 to 35 for this coming election.
So with that, the floor is open for debate, starting with Senator Azan.
I'm just confused. Maybe you can help me with that. So we heard in ISU Daily that there's an increase in the enrollment. So, but now we see that the number is getting down. So can you explain what's going on? The student is increasing, but the representation is getting down. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually exactly why the number went down. So the problem is that there were more, since there's more students coming in, there's a lot more people living in the dorms now. So as a proportion of the student body, they're more. And as you can see, there's some Senate seats that have, the proportion is in the decimals, so they don't cross that threshold of 1. So the way that the formula turned out, they turned out to be losing 1 just because their proportion dropped right below that number. But since we have to keep the constituencies at least 1, that kind of creates those wonky numbers. So yes, it would make intuitively more sense that, oh, there was a decrease in UROC, so there should be an increase in the dorms. But because of those constituencies that have less than 1, that caused a little bit of some wonky numbers.
Awesome. Thank you. I yield.
Senator Pedisani.
I also do have a question regarding, let's say for second semester, more people do move away from being on campus to off campus. Would the numbers be changed, or is it only for?
This number is based off falls data from last year that was given out by the registrars, so it wouldn't change. This number will be set.
Okay.
It's only based off fall data, so next year it will be this semester's data.
Okay.
So.
Speaker Momini.
I just wanted to add in some context for UROC. Last year when we saw this bill, it was barely over 10.5. It was and that's what made us have 11 seats on UROC rather than the 10 that it will be next term. So it's pretty normal for UROC to fluctuate up and down, I would say. In terms of, we're usually pretty close to the cutoff, and last year we just went below it. I yield.
With that, the floor is open. Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? No objections. Any closing comments with Speaker Momini? Right. Pardon? I didn't know if I heard you right. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this bill by way of unanimous consent? No objections. The motion carries. With that, we'll move into our new business for this evening, starting with item 2024-2-029F, funding for the Water Polo Club with Senator Pedisani.
Water polo has come to us for funding as they have qualified for the national championship, winning the Missouri Valley Division and being champions there. So we're funding them $641, so 1/3 of their travel expenses. So Anyone have any questions?
Floor is open for any questions of intent. Seeing none, this item will return next week. We'll now see item 2024-2-30F, funding for the Best Buddies with Senator Pedisani.
Best Buddies is requesting travel expenses for a National Best Buddies Leadership Conference in Indiana, and same thing over here with just paying the conference fee itself. So, if anyone has any questions.
With that, the floor is open for any questions of intent. Starting with Senator Azan.
My bad. Conference travel. That was my bad.
All right. Any further questions of intent? Senator Moisango.
Clarification question from the Senator Mamani. Can we make amendments during?
You're more than welcome to next week when this is on second read. Any questions of intent? Seeing none, once again, this will return next week. We'll now look at item 2024-2-002A, the 2025 Election Code with Speaker Mamani.
Election Commission, I'm going to yield my opening speaking privilege to them.
Yeah, so this is just the updated election code. We attached a markup version that should have all the changes. Just a couple additional changes that we made this year. For example, we're adding the Election Commission Constitution to the, like the official definition of election law. Just as a note, that's mostly just procedural matters like how violations work, internal voting procedures for the Constitution, but we just want to make sure that it's absolutely clear that those have the force of election law. Another changes, a lot of it is switching up numbers. There were some sections that were removed either because they were no longer necessary, but a couple notable additions is this year we're adding a new requirement for executive slates to meet with the Election Commission. I believe it's weekly, just to have some opportunities for slates and candidates to go over any things with the Election Commission. So if they have an idea that they want to propose and implement during the campaign, we just want to make sure that the commission and the slates are on the same page so we can avoid any sort of violations, penalties. We're also adding some requirements to have the violations procedures included in the packets that candidates will receive. And I believe a lot of those other changes, a lot of it was editing material that was wordy or and make sure that things are clarified. So another big project that we did is we made sure to go through the penalties that are at the bottom. So there's an appendix that's on the last page. If you want to take a look at that, I would recommend that. We made sure to go through and basically codify all those sections. So make sure that if there's a violation, it's attached to a specific part of election code, and there's an easy way to refer that. There's a table there. And if there was something missing, we went back and added that. So for example, there's a new penalty if you don't follow like a ruling of the Election Commission, there's an additional penalty. So just to make things a little more clear, make things run a little more smoothly this year.
That, the floor is open for questions of intent, starting with Senator Azan.
Are you planning to explain different color coded? Like I can see it's blue, green, and red in the proposed document.
Yes.
Do you want to? Are you planning to explain it next week?
Yes.
What does the color code mean? Awesome.
With that, are there any further questions of intent? Seeing none, thank you. This will return again next week. And we'll now look at item 2024-2-031F, funding a mass email campaign to promote Perplexity Pro's free academic tool for students with Senator Gopa.
So Iowa State just received a free year of Perplexity Pro, and it's a great academic learning tool. It's not supposed to complete your homework. They made sure of that. It just helps you with your academics. It helps you teach things. It's like an AI-powered search engine, and we have a free year of access to it, and I wanted to work with PR to make an email campaign where we show students how they can use it to supplement their educational learning experience by giving them good resources and like helping them learn stuff a bit better. I'll take any questions.
Questions of intent, starting with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Does it do a good job of helping you summarize chapters from textbooks?
Yes.
Speaker Momini.
Did you work with finance or get the $40 price point from somewhere specific?
Yes.
Are there any further questions of intent? Seeing none, this will come back next week. Finally, we'll look at item 2024-2-003ST, recommendation to end outside of class exam taking on Election Day with Senator Kameyer.
Sorry, I know that that's kind of a mouthful, but this was just a recommendation that I have, so not ordering anything. But basically for this to be sent to the Faculty Senate by our Director of Academic Affairs, and it's just outlining how we would prefer there not to be out-of-class exams or exams like in the testing center on Election Day, because I don't think any student should have to decide between voting and having to take an exam. We're also recommending that the testing center just be closed in general on Election Day.
Questions of intent, starting with Senator Gopa.
Are you aware there's a thing called early voting?
Yes.
Any further questions of intent? Seeing none, this will come back next week. And so with that, having completed our business for this evening, we'll move into general closing announcements. For those, the floor is open, starting with Senator Jones.
I just wanted to remind everybody, when you guys speak, to use the microphone. I was watching back the video and live stream when I couldn't attend one of the other weeks, and I couldn't hear some of y'all speak because the microphone wasn't like close or was like moving it away. Just be mindful of it.
Any further closing announcements? Senator Gopa.
The IB school, what is it? What do you call the business school here? Okay, you business students have a weird college name, never mind. So they're holding their first hackathon ever. There's a business route and there's a normal route. You can win $3,000. The Hackathon Club at Iowa State is also holding their hackathon sometime next week, and they're giving out $500, I think. There's just a lot of competitions around in the Iowa State community where you can win a bunch of money. So win money for stugov or not. Just win it for yourself.
Any further closing announcements? Senator Kameyer.
So as some of you know, IRHA is hosting Fall Fest this week. So if anyone wants to, after Senate, go to Linden Hall. I believe that they're stuffing just like stuffed animals or something. So that's really cool. They're doing that until 8:30. And they also have free caramel apples at UDCC from 1 to 3 tomorrow.
Any further closing announcements? All right. Seeing none, I don't have any significant closing announcements for you all tonight, and so I'll yield right to the Vice Speaker.
If you are new and you're confused about office hours or outreach credits, please come to me. I can explain all of those things to you. And if you need to reach me in regards to a project or any ideas you have, I'm usually in the office around 2 each day.
Alrighty, next week we have a working meeting at 5 p.m. That's discouraging. Anyways, it has to do with our city council meeting, so it is very important that you all attend. We have a great working relationship with our city council, and this is just going to help all of us feel prepared to have those conversations and topics that we might feel very passionate about in a respectful way. So since I have given you a 1-week notice, it means that it is required, and that if you do not show up, it is a quarter of a nonfeasance, which add up very quickly. So show up. If you cannot make it at 5 because of classes or a family emergency or you're sick, then I need you to email me at least 24 hours in advance, unless of course you get sick that morning or something. Then, I understand. Other than that, if you are interested in being what's it called? if you're interested in joining an impeachment manager with the Supreme Court, please, for the bill that we saw earlier for the Election Commission, please email me by 3 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be looking at the applications and deciding the 2 people who will do it. Yeah, it's for the Election Commission member who is up for removal. It has to be sent to the Supreme Court, and there are supposed to be 2 representatives from stugov. If you would have read the bill, you would know what I was talking about. That's the T. Anyways, new senators, I will have your name placards next week. It's been a very long day, and I didn't get to it, so I apologize. With that, go home, get some rest. Motion to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
We are adjourned. See you next week.